Good afternoon, everyone. We always save the last for the best, as they say, right? Thank you, each and every colleague, for doing a wonderful, wonderful presentation. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dorsaf. I enjoyed your presentation a lot. If I allow myself, yeah, thank you. I believe you can see it now very gently and very straightforward, right?
Yes, but it would be, yeah, full screen is perfect. Thank you very much.
Good. And I'm trying to make this very swift. I know it's been a long day for all my colleagues. Thank you. And thank you to my students and to my colleagues from the Lebanese International University for participating. Usually, I'm going to talk about, or Dina and I'm going to talk about the empowering of educators. The word here is empowering. The word is technically empowering. And at the same time, the architecture of the curriculum. If we go down exactly, the flow of the webinar is going to divide into 4 parts. We need to know what exactly the index of quality education. What when you say quality education, it has to have an index. And at the same time, we need to know exactly what the latest trends on digital education. And the third part, which might be very interesting for everyone, is the rethinking of the pedagogy from what we mean by empowerment and the architecture of a curriculum. These 2 words are very essential. And what we'll be talking about is down to earth, what we're doing at the university. And I will go straight away very quickly to future jobs to see based on statistics. Now, when we say index of quality education, 3 pillars that people immediately assess you are the 3 domains: the leadership domain, the learning domain, and the resource domain. Usually, each one will lead you to standards. Each one would lead you to different standards, So that means we have to have standards going into those domains. My concentration would be, our concentration definitely would be around the word learning. Now, going down to what is quality? People always talk of quality, but that has to also undergo certain criteria of measurement. The quality is usually referred to as the leadership, which is one of the domains, and the way you manage it. You have the way you have your personal development, and this goes to professional development, and your behavior and attitude. These are very well measured through the taxonomy of attitude and your tasks. For leadership capacity, we say, how do you have leadership capacity? The way you embrace, adapt, and I'm using the word adapt, the way you embrace change, the way you have quality management. We talked about quality, we talked about change, and this is the way we are going to concentrate. Now, under internationalization, this is a new trend now, based in comparison with education. The whole thing will be fostering around 3 elements. Internationalization will funnel around 3 elements. The education for change, what we're going to do with the curriculum, the education in change, and education for the future. Our emphasis in internationalization more or less would be in change and for change. Now, before we go into anything, we talk about these big buzzwords and what we've learned recently. We need to revisit, all of us in such circumstances, our mission and vision. And that has to do through certain analysis among the schools and among the faculties. Then you have your instructional skills developed, and I will shedding light on that. The incentives are your partners, definitely your resources. Within an action plan, immediately you get your change. Anything less than that will have negative consequences. No vision, confusion. No skills, instructional skills, you lead to anxiety. No incentives, you start getting resistance in the university or among colleagues. No resources, people are frustrated. And finally, if we don't have a proper action plan, you're on deck. That's simply what you have to go with change if we talk about internationalization. Now, what I'm sharing with you, we are sharing with you, this is fact that we've done in the Lebanese International University. This is the link. Now, we revisited our strategic planning immediately when we started with internationalization. When Nada introduced us to this, we have now a 5-year plan. And you can go visit out there. There's the link. You can see that they're based on the reform we did from the instructors and students. And our emphasis is in internationalization. It will be on the sustainable development goals and at the same time on online teaching. These are the two major issues that will be going to empower our students. There are the links. Once you visit the link, you can get all the information with videos in there. Now, to do that, now I come to the curricula itself. We cannot run away from the philosophy of curriculum, of behaviorism, or cognitivism, or constructivism. We can talk of skills till tomorrow. But we have to reinforce our content. We have to improve the way we think our content. And at the same time, we have to see exactly based on, somebody mentioned it, I think our colleague said, group work and the way we build on prior knowledge. All these are beautiful. But to do this, you have to revisit your curricula and develop a framework. What we did is, these are the 5 basics what we did. We revisited the rationale of the curriculum, the scope of the curriculum, the approach of the curriculum, the teaching methodology, and the assessment. And we had to adapt it to the online to meet empowerment. On the rationale, you have 4 criteria: your vision, the aim and the objective, the values and the principles. But under the scope, and I'll be talking about what is architecture. And at the same time, the approach now, ladies and gentlemen, is competence-based. Why? I inserted you in this presentation on the 11th of January, the latest prediction of post-corona. We are moving from outcome-based to competence-based, and which has to be embedded. And this is synonym to internationalization. And then we have to talk about the learning methodologies, and we have to rethink about assessment. This is the architecture that we have to talk about in any curricula very quickly. Do you have your foundations? A team will work on this. The mission, vision, and your philosophy. It's very easy. We did that, and we gave you an example in the School of Education at LIU. Which domains, which subject areas that you want to improve your competence-based, your strategies. When we talk of design model, Khalil, I think, mentioned it, and thank you for that. He talked about differentiated instruction, inclusion. We have 2 tiers, that means 2 stages, we have 7 stages. Most universities apply the 2-stage, where how we take care of our students. It is more effective in schools rather than universities. We need to have inclusion a lot. And at the moment, for example, at LIU, we have around the 36,000, we do have 6,000 Syrians and Palestinians that we have as inclusion into our curricula, into the system of the university. Then you need to know exactly internationalization. Are we working on degrees, we're going to certification. Ladies and gentlemen, in this presentation also, you will see a link from the latest economist that when you go for a transcript, nobody's going to ask you now for your grades. They're going to ask you what competences you achieved in each course. Then you have the program study, the models, now moving most of us blended, synchronous, asynchronous. Then we have changed the models of teaching. Likewise, any time of the day, the assessment, we are rethinking of it until we finish. These 1, 2, 3, 5 or 15 elements make up the architecture. And this has to go in a year's time. Now, what we mean by empowerment? We all know Bloom's. We start the knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. But to talk about empowerment, ladies, please, first you need to exchange. After you do the exchange, you have to enrich your curricula with your students. After you enrich, you enhance it. And after you enhance it, extend it. And after that, you empower. Nobody talks about empowerment unless you go through these 5 stages, and which correspond to Bloom's taxonomy. This is exactly how you do things. Now, how do you do your instructional framework? You pick your model. Which model are you talking about? The social cognitive level. The strategies, which I will shed light in the next slide: direct, indirect, experiential, indirect, individual, interactive. Which methods? And lately, the 21st century skills. It's in another slide. The next slide will show you, these are the 21st century skills. We've talked a lot about them. But what we did, and here my colleague Dina, who was supposed to defend her PhD 2 months ago, and twice it's been postponed due to Corona, her PhD was the comparative study of all the courses in the School of Education in LIU versus the Lebanese University, to see from BA and graduate which courses, if you look at it, that adhere to the 21st century skills. You have the cognitive. In the cognitive, you have, if you look at them, 8 skills. Then you put the Arabic, you put the English, you put the biology, you put the geography, sociology. Either you have it or you don't have these skills that we talk about. You're doing your mapping of the 21st century skills. You cannot just jump, because this has to be introduced later on. So the 21st century skills are divided into 3 categories. You have the cognitive with 8 skills. You have the interpersonal competence. It's made up of 6 skills: cooperative learning, interpersonal skills, conflict resolution, leadership, self, presentation, and influence on others. We have to map it against the subjects. You either have it or you don't have it. You either have it or you don't have it, through observation of the syllabus and interviewing instructors and students. And the third type of competence is the intrapersonal, also made up of 6 skills. So all in all, we're talking of 22 skills, ladies and gentlemen. We have to map it. Now, what we got presently, it's between 45% and 54% of 21st century competences, which fall behind employability. This is the way you need to do, or we need to do our mapping. So that, this is the strategy that I talked about. For every strategy, these are the methods implemented in them. Most of us do these methods without knowing that they belong to such strategies. And this has to be eclectic. Finally, also, Sam and Khalid mentioned on inclusion. We have to be very careful when we talk about inclusion, please. Inclusion is getting everybody around the table. It's different from segregation. It's different from integration. When one has to meet, when one has to look at one size, he or she has to meet the others. This is called very difficult. So that's why these 3 elements will tell us what inclusion is. Now, how do we learn? You have to develop first your outcome. And we gave here, because time is running out after rush, not much time. It's a STEM learning outcome. You go to Bloom's and adapt it to technology with a learning verb. Please, you can have this with the verbs and which application goes with each level in Bloom's taxonomy. And we had them this in some of the curricula. Types of learning outcomes. This is exactly, you map it out. Whatever you teach, map it out similar to the way we map to the 21st century skills. Then, do this, Khalil and my other colleagues talk about UDL, Universal Desired Learning. It's true, equity, but people have to be aware that when you talk about behaviorism, cognitivism, or constructivism, please, let's be aware of which tool, application tool, works with every what, with every theory. So that's why now 50, 60 minutes, our students need to be aware of these tools. That's what UDL talks about. This is online teaching, not remote. What most of our doing in the curricula, we're not empowering our students to online, we're empowering them to just something called remote. When you say online, for every activity, theory it belongs, these are the recommended. We've done them in schools, when we've done them at university. With a click of a mouse, you can see the way tutorials are being done. In whatever course you want. Second, UDL, when we talk of UDL, this is the latest educational trend. You have to think of the pedagogy, how you explore the pedagogy, how you engage in the pedagogy, how you design in the pedagogy, how you apply it. To do this, you need the pedagogy, your assignments, research, your technology, and because it's in the year 2000, PARTY is the acronym of UDL. Please, you have this. By clicking to everyone, it will lead you to treasures of internationalization activities within teaching. And this is what we're using here today in the School of Education. Now, what I will be ended with, on the 11th of January, if you, on the University World News, 2021, on January 11th, or sorry, 9th January, there are the predictions between 2005 to 2021. Look at it. In 2010, it was based on outcome. In 2021, we'll be going all into competences. Transcripts will be inserted into the grades. This is part of the internationalization. How do you come up with a course? Very simple. You have a course, physics, chemistry, curriculum design. You take one of the competences. Then what do? You insert it into the module. You have your behavior, your activities, and then you have your assessment. This is the way we go through our system of the curricula and empowering them. And why internationalization? In the latest Global Economics Forum, just a week ago, 84% believe now we are going to go through digitalization, and these are the percentages. In another question, it says, what are the technologies that will be adopted? Computing and cyber security. We have to rethink our curricula in the university to meet employability. Another question is, what are the top jobs in the next 25? Data analysis, machine, big data, digital marketing. These are, we need to know exactly what's the next 4 or 5 years coming up. And finally, if we have to take the top 15 skills in the next 5 years, according to the forum, it says analytical thinking and innovation, which is cognitive of the 21st century. Active learning strategies, I mentioned them, complex problem solving, critical thinking analysis, and creativity. These are part of what we refer to as the 21st century skills, where I divided them. And this is in Dina's PhD. Finally, what's the new school of thought? Also from The Economist, a couple of weeks ago, they say, the new model of the universities under internationalization. You have open universities, clustering model, where strength of partnership among each other, experiential model, the blended learning. You have the liberal arts, where you have to map your curriculum, and you have to do a lot of partnership. Ladies and gentlemen, I will end it with this. The greatest danger in times of turbulence is what we have now, a turbulence. Not the turbulence itself, it's not Corona, but to act with yesterday's logic to solve today's problems. That will be crazy enough. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. I hope I was on time.